So today I'm chatting with Niaby, a next stop broker turned healer and a spiritual medium living in Ibiza. Niaby recognized the call of her soul to walk a different path in life and help people gain a deeper understanding of this new world, because she strongly believes that every one of us has a gift that will help to heal the rift. She is the author of the channeled book The Spirit of Life and the host of the Spirit of Life in Ibiza podcast. She hopes to inspire people to find the power to heal themselves, so in turn, they can too inspire others to do the same.
So thank you so much for joining and welcome to the podcast. I'm super excited to ask you the question, like, how did you come up to write the book, The Spirit of Life?
Well, thank you for having me on the show. Yeah, it's a good question. I didn't actually come up with the idea to write a book, although I did always think that I had a book in me. But actually, I just sat down one day and just started to write with a spirit that I had connected to in my mediumship course. Yeah, for those of you who don't know, I'm a medium, so I can connect with spirits. And during one of my development courses, we were asked to actually connect with one particular spirit, like a spirit guide. And so the guide that came through to me, who I at that point I hadn't believed I'd met, I didn't realise I'd met him before. Or I didn't realise I was connected with him, but we brought through, I connected to him and we were asked to bring through these powerful words of wisdom. And when I actually heard the words that were coming through me, they weren't my words, they were coming through me from spirit. When I actually heard these words, I realised they were really similar to that which or the language that was used was really similar to that which I use when I write. And so I knew that spirit was helping me with my writing in general, but I just didn't realise it was this particular spirit. So I just decided, well, I'm going to sit down the next day, connect with this spirit and write and just literally see what comes. And that ended up being the first page of my book, but I had no idea that was a book that I was writing. It was, it was probably I can't remember, maybe a month or so in that I started to recognise, hold on a minute, I think I'm writing a book here. So I didn't have the idea, it was Spirit's idea.
And it was super intuitively coming to you to start writing and collect all this information and put it into chapters and in...
Do you know what? It wasn't even. It didn't even come like in a chapter form. So it's like diary form, as if I'm writing a journal. So every day I would just come. So I sat that first day, and this spirit introduced himself to me, and then said, come back and sit with me every day, and we'll write. And so every day I would come back in and write, and so it'd be like May 16th, 2015, whatever flowed through me. May 17th, 2015, whatever flowed through me. So it's very much in journal form, and there's been no editing or changing or anything to the book at all. I mean, it was edited in fact to make sure that I didn't have any spelling mistakes. But everything, it was just purely channeled through me. And so it took 6 months to write the book, and I literally spent 1 hour a day channeling the information. I'd sit for a further 2 or 3 hours rereading what I'd written, because I was so blown away by what was just coming through me, what was being made manifest through me. But the book itself, 6 months and 1 hour a day, which I think anybody else who's written a book will probably be really angry with me right now, throwing things at me right now, because for most people it's such a big process. But for me it was just literally just flew through me, and that was that. So super grateful for the easy process there.
And is that also due to surrendering to your intuition, or how would you describe that, the following of these steps into that process?
Yeah, well, intuition is obviously a huge part of that, but so because I'm a medium, so I literally do see dead people, which I know people might think I'm a little bit crazy now, but I've been seeing spirits since I was a child, and I blocked it out for a really long time as well. I mean, I was in finance for 15 years, and I was a stockbroker for 12 years, and you do not walk on a trading floor and tell people that you see dead people. I mean, that's definitely game over. So I wasn't ready for connecting with spirit at all. And so for 10 years I just completely blocked it out, and it was only when I left Hong Kong. So I worked in Hong Kong for 4.5 years as a stockbroker, smack bang in the middle of the credit crunch. So it was tough times, and I became very sick and had a lot of issues with my health, which eventually forced me to walk away from my career. And I think probably for about a year before I was ready to walk away from my career, I could feel that Spirit was wanting to come back in, and I could feel that it was coming to that time to reopen to Spirit as well. So after I left my job and I travelled for a while, I got the guidance, the intuitive guidance, to go back to the UK and enrol in a mediumship course. So I've been developing my mediumship for 8 years now. And as part of developing the mediumship, you're also developing your intuition.
Of course,
so it's all there. And it was about 1.5 years into developing the mediumship that this particular spirit came and connected with me. So I'd had that 1.5 years of really quite intense development of getting used to what it means to connect to spirit. So yeah, feeling that connection. And then also, when we're talking about mediumship, this is evidential mediumship. So you're connecting with somebody's deceased loved one, and then you're bringing information through, which is then, the person on the other side is accepting that information, saying, yes, you've got my mum, I understand that, you're correct with what you're saying there. So I got very, I got used to bringing information through that I knew to be correct, because it was being received and confirmed. Exactly. So by the time I connected with this spirit and started to bring this information through, I was then trusting my connection and trusting the source.
Exactly, because that is such an interesting point, because when you're channeling a book, I can understand it takes a lot of courage and a lot of trust to say, I'm gonna listen to this intuition and I'm gonna write it down, and I'm gonna trust that it is going somewhere throughout this entire process.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I think the lesson in trusting ourselves is one of the biggest things. We're not taught to use our intuition. We're taught that it's our imagination. So, and it's one of the biggest things as a medium or a psychic or anybody who works with this kind of thing, is trusting what's coming through. But because it's coming. We're told it's just our imagination, but Spirit does use our imagination to bring the information through us. That is the channel. So yeah, learning to trust that what's coming through in a way that is something that we've always been told is our imagination. It's a really hard thing to do, and it takes a lot of time. And so I've been developing for 8 years now, and I still struggle with the trust. I still do. But as I say, luckily, I'm working in an area where it's evidential. So I do now, I know that it's true. I know that I need to trust, but there is always self-doubt. There's always the questioning. It's one of the biggest issues for most developing mediums is trusting what is coming through.
And I think even a big problem at the moment in the world.
Absolutely. There's a lot of trust that is that's needed right now for people, for sure.
For what is going on. This is also something that you talk about in your podcast.
Yes.
About how there's a new world developing, basically. And would you say that this trust and this intuition is just the beginning of the stepping stone into this new world?
I think so. I think certainly one of the most important things that any of us can do right now is to start to really connect with our own intuition, our own understanding, and really take the steps to journey into really discovering who you are as a person, because we've been conditioned to be somebody else. Like, one of the things I actually talk about a lot is we, for our schooling system, so we go to school, and for a lot of us, our natural gifts and talents aren't nurtured. So we are taught that we need to be good at English or Dutch or science or maths, and society's moneymakers. And some people have a natural aptitude for that, and that's great. But for those that don't, we're made to feel that we're not good enough, because our natural gifts aren't, as I say, these society's moneymakers. So our natural gifts don't get nurtured. And there's for me, and this is one of the things that the book talks about, is that there's a line in the book actually that says every one of us has a gift that will help to heal the rift. And what that's saying is, we're all born with these natural gifts and talents. But because they're not nurtured, we get ripped away from the very essence of who we are. Because our natural gifts, our passions, our talents, our dreams, these are the true essence of who we are. And if we're made to feel that the true essence of who we are isn't good enough, then we feel like we're not good enough. So we end up creating broken children and then sending them into an already broken society. And you know, this is where people get frustrated, they're partying, they're, you know, using all kinds of things to escape
and distract themselves.
Distractions. And so this is, our whole world is based on distractions at the moment. You know, distract yourself from recognizing that you're not actually being the true essence of who you are. Distract yourself from recognizing that you're not truly happy. And this is what needs to change. You know, we it's our God-given right to be happy, you know.
And what would you say if someone tells you that's just how the way it is, that's just how the world goes round?
Well, it has been the way it is for a really long time. It has been. And so, you know, they are correct that is how it's been. But what's happening right now is we are now being offered the opportunity to create a whole new world that's based on love, not fear. And the world that we have been living in for thousands of years has been based on that fear. It has been fear-based, and we have been conditioned to live within that fear. But as I say, now we're basically being offered an opportunity. And when I say we're offered an opportunity, this is something that's happening energetically. There's a huge energetic shift that is happening right now, galactically, so to speak. Excuse my cough. So we've been offered this opportunity to shift into a higher vibration of love and to return back to the oneness, because we've been living for a really long time, for thousands of years, separated. We've been separated from source, we're separated from each other, and we're separated from the true essence of who we are. And we're now coming to the end of a cycle, and I'm going to tell you a story. So it's like, because I appreciate that not everybody, you know, everybody's at different levels of their conscious understanding, and for some people this is complete, you know, woo-woo, and for other people they might, you know, they might understand some of it. So I'm just going to tell a story, and it's up to you know, the viewers and the listeners at home as to how they interact with that story and how they connect to it. And again, it's very much about, I think, just feeling from your heart and feeling from your intuition, as we spoke about, rather than our minds. But there's a story of, and some people may have heard it, like Lucifer, the fallen angel. So Lucifer was God's right-hand man. And again, I'm using the word God, and I know different people have different things around that as well. So yeah, exactly. And God's, you know, it's a hard word for people to connect with. It was for myself as well, actually. I really struggled with the word God for a long time, because the religious God is something very different to the God that I feel and connect to in my heart. So we can call it source energy or whatever. But you know, this story is Lucifer was God's right-hand man. And it's said that then Lucifer decided that he wanted to go it alone and disconnect from source, disconnect from the oneness. So you know, this illusion of separation was created, and he's seen as the fallen angel. But in actual fact, Lucifer didn't decide that all by himself. This was decided all in line with the divine. This was given, like nothing happens without it being in line with the divine. So this experience was given so that humanity could have an experience disconnected from source, disconnected from the oneness, disconnected from each other. And that is the illusion that we've been living in for the past, I mean, I'm not a historian, but I'd say, you know, around 13,000 years, maybe more. So this is the illusion of separation, and now this cycle is now coming to an end. So we're now moving and we're shifting back to this higher vibration where humanity now gets to have the experience, reconnecting to source energy, reconnecting to the oneness, reconnecting to the love, to each other, to ourselves. And so we've been on a huge exploration, if you like, of you know, just finding who we are, but also by finding who we are through understanding who we're not. So, you know, we are not separate. We are one, but we're now having that experience, reconnecting back to that oneness. So that's what's going on right now, and within that, so we now have this opportunity to create this whole new world based on love, that's fair for all, that takes us back to that place of oneness. But to do that, we have to start seeing the dark, ugly truth that our world has been based on. And seeing that dark, ugly truth is only step one of the process as well. It's, you know, I often refer to the movie The Matrix, which is an easy one to refer to because everyone's seen the movie.
Yes.
And yeah, so the seeing the dark, ugly truth that our world has been based on for so long. It's the part in the movie where Neo is offered the choice of the blue or the red pill.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
you still have to take the red pill. And the taking of the red pill is the part where the real work and the real journey begins, because that's where we have to start to unplug ourselves from this system that we have been conditioned into and trained into.
Yeah, so you're basically saying we're just at the beginning of this whole new, it's
very
just
much
right
at the beginning. Yeah, and I know, and humanity is impatient. I mean, I'm witnessing this happening, so much at the moment. Obviously, as I said, everybody is at different levels of their own understanding and their own processes. And there are those who are quite advanced in this process. There's many of us who are. I hate to use this word, but it's one of the best ways of explaining it. But it's so derogatory to those on the other side of this. But you talk about awakening.
Yes,
we're awakening.
This,
and it's difficult, because for those who haven't started that process yet, it's like we're suggesting you're still asleep, and that is that's something you don't want to hear that,
it's like
hold on, but it is unfortunately it is the best way of it, because all of us have been asleep. We've all been in this slumber. We've all been conditioned in this world of separation, this Luciferian construct, and that sounds scary because we look at Lucifer as being Satan, but it's not about that. It's just it's a construct of being disconnected from source energy.
And I also heard you talking about the illusion of choice. Would you say that in a way Lucifer consciously chose to have the separation? Or
yes, and I believe that, but I believe that was also chosen with the permission or whatever, with the complete and utter acceptance of the divine, of God, source energy, because this is we chose to have, humanity chose this experience, and now we're collectively choosing another experience, but we have to say collectively, some of us are still catching up with the process, but everything's in line with the divine. So I often say that the energies of the dark and light are dancing with each other, all in line with the divine, because the more darkness that we see in the world, like we've been living in darkness for a really long time. Our world is dark. We have to really look at that. We have to really see what our world has been based upon. We have people who are rolling in money, and their grandchildren, their grandchildren's grandchildren are never going to spend the money they have, and we have people dying on the streets, and there's something very wrong there. So we have to really look at what has been going on in our world for a really long time. But as I say, like the more darkness that gets rolled out now, because things are heavy at the moment, and whether you see it as a dark plan that's deliberately being rolled out, or whether you just see that stuff's going on that's dark right now, whatever people connect into is totally fine, but we just have to see that there's darkness there. But the more darkness that gets rolled out, the more we're actually bringing to the surface the things that we really need to heal in our world. And we can't heal our world overnight. There's so much that's gone on. This is a huge process. We don't go to bed one night and say, okay, let's fix the world. In the morning we'll get up and it's
we're 1 year later and now it has to be fixed.
It's
almost, we get impatient because we feel like it's been going on for a year now, and then it's nothing.
But we're healing 13,000 years worth of pain and torture and darkness. So it's a huge process, and I really want to remind people that who are listening and watching, actually, that we all chose this. Every single person who is alive right now chose to be alive at this time in history. And so for some of us, as I said, I mentioned earlier, about some of us woke up early, or we were awakened early. We were given the gift of awakening early, to allow ourselves to have already gone deep into this process. I've spent the last 8 years unplugging myself from the system, and it's still a work in progress, but I spent that time unplugging myself so that I was in a position that when this now hit, that when the rest of the world starts to go through their processes, myself and many people, yourself included, many people like us have already gone through this process, so we are able to hold space through people going through it right now. And when we went through our awakening, we were doing it at a time where we were all still quite separated from each other. We didn't know the other person was. We didn't know each other. We didn't know that there were other people going through this. So we went through it alone, and it was tough. But we've now found each other now, and we're really strong in numbers, which is beautiful, because we're strong in numbers so that we can support other people as they're going through it, through a really dark time when it feels like the world is literally falling apart, which it is, But again, one of the other things I talk about is the destruction, the phoenix rising from the ashes of our own destruction. And you know, my phoenix rose from the ashes of my destruction when I had really poor health. I had to walk away from my career as a stockbroker. My whole world had to change. And what felt like the biggest curse at the time became the biggest blessing that, you know, the biggest gift that life could ever have given to me. And we're now seeing this on a collective level right now. You know, this is the archetypal phoenix is rising from the ashes of humanity's destruction. So yes, you know, things are falling apart, and we are going to see, you know, what feels like the world self-destructing. But what we also have is those people who have already started this journey of consciousness, who are already aware of the whole new world that we've got the opportunity to create. Those people are already starting to create it. You know, we all came here with natural gifts and passions, which I said, which were taken away from us at school. But we, you know, every single one of us has a gift that will help to heal the rift, as I mentioned earlier. That rift is now. And so we all hold tiny parts of, you know, the jigsaw puzzle, and some may hold bigger parts of the picture than others, but we all come together and we create this picture together. So for those of us who are all they're seeing right now is the destruction.
What would you say to them? Because I know that there's many people out there and they have struggled to believe they're afraid. There's a lot of fear right now.
Yeah, there is.
And what would you say to people who are sitting at home watching this and think, well, yeah, that all sounds really beautiful and I really want to believe that. But at this moment, I'm just seeing people getting sick and I see the world crumbling and how, where do I get that trust? What would you say to those people?
Well, I'd start by saying, I guess almost just finishing up what I was saying there, because it answers your question to a degree, is to know, and this doesn't help with the trust because we'll go there in a second, but you know, this is me sort of trying to share this wisdom with people, is that people, those of us who you know, are already aware of what's going on and have been aware of it for a long time, we're already starting to build that whole new world. You know, we're doing that, and we're doing that for the whole of humanity. This is something that, you know, anybody who is already becoming conscious is already starting to move to a place where we are reconnecting back to that oneness. So we're building a world that is ready for whenever anybody else is ready to step into it, for them to come in and for them to come and create with their wisdom and their knowledge and their growth, because the process right now is about finding the way back to self and finding your way back to oneness. So for those people who are still very much trapped in the fear and the darkness, I really want to say it's about trying to accept, which is so hard. The word surrender is something that is used in the spiritual community so much, but it is the hardest thing to do, is to surrender and to trust. But the part of the process is actually trying to surrender to the process that each individual is going through right now, because it's, like I said before, it is the phoenix rising from the ashes. So sometimes we need to hit rock bottom for us to be able to rise. And you know, we rise as one, but you know, there are people who are rising slightly higher at the moment who are able to hold that space and who are able to start building the whole new world, so that people can then, as we start to see the destruction, you can also then start to see that there's other things on the other side that are going to be there to hold. But
so little dots of light, you mean, like to create that little bit of hope, a little bit of spark that...
Yeah, because there's so much light. There is so much light in this, but you know, it's being able to see it. And we spoke about fear there, and obviously there's so much fear going on in the world right now. My number one piece of advice to anybody would be to turn off the news, because we are literally inviting fear into our living room. And whether you believe everything that's coming through the TV or not, you know, people have different takes on that. And my role is never to try and force people out of their own beliefs. It's only to show that the light is the light is there. But whether you believe what's coming through your TV or not, the point is you don't need to be hearing it and living it and breathing it 24 hours a day. You just don't need it. It's literally bringing so much anxiety into your world. And I have a friend who's a nurse, and she was going into hospital every day and working as part of, you know, the first lockdown in the UK. And she was fine at work. It was only when she came home and put the news on that she would then start suffering from anxiety. And she had to have a little word with herself, say, hold on, like, when I'm actually in the front of it, there's no fear, but it's what's coming through the news. And so, really trying to, I know it's hard right now for people. I know the UK is really suffering under their third lockdown. I'm not sure what it's like in in Holland at the moment, but it's really tough in the UK at the moment. But you need to just find that place of peace and harmony in yourself, and see. I see the gift in everything. That is one of my gifts, is to see the gift in everything. I lost my dad 6 years ago, and I was even able to see the gift in that, because my dad's suffering through stage 4 brain cancer, and then ultimately his passing is what gave me the courage to find and use my voice. So there was a gift in my dad's passing. So I'm not saying this lightly to people, when I say find the gift in it, because I know people may say, well, that's easy for you to say,
No,
but yeah, I see the gift in everything. And the gift we're being offered right now is, for some, the gift of time. For people on furlong and maybe didn't have time before, because we're being offered stillness. Not everyone. There's some people who are, obviously like working from home and then trying to homeschool kids, and so but different people have different gifts. But for some, it's the gift of time and the gift of stillness. For some, it's the gift of nature and reconnecting back to the true essence of who we are. For some, it's the gift of recognizing that no job's safe anymore. So we've been trained to follow the money. We have been trained and conditioned to follow the money. Back to what I was saying about our schooling system, and we've been taken away from the very essence of who we are. We're not following our own dreams, our own gifts, our own passions. So for some, it's the recognition that working in the bank, that's not safe anymore. So we may as well take the risk on following our own gifts, our own passions now, and following our own dreams instead of creating somebody else's dream. There's so many different things in this.
So it's shedding again light basically on the areas that we have been rushing off to work and being very stressed, and now we've been given the gift of time, and it's just shedding light on that. And it's maybe we have been disconnected from nature, and now we have reconnected, or we have been not looking into our passions. So it's that flip side every time that you look at and find the gift in it.
Absolutely. And I think I would say that to anybody, however dark anything is, whether we're talking about what we're going through right now or just your own individual processes, I would always say, always try and find the gift through the darkness. Always try and see that little bit of light through the darkness. Because if you can trust in the process, which is again another spiritual platitude, so to speak, and it's not as easy as we say it, and it's not as easy to do. But if we can work towards that trust, that trusting in the process, and just knowing that every journey that we go on, every experience that we have, there is always a gift in it. And if you can try and look for that gift, if you can find that, the more you're looking for it, the quicker you're going to find it, and so the quicker the process is. But for every experience I've ever had, no matter how dark it's been, no matter how hard it's been to go through, I've got to the other side and always been, wow, okay, that's what I learned from that. That's what that was showing me. That's what I was set free from. Because setting ourselves free is actually the ultimate goal right now. Setting ourselves free from this society, setting ourselves free from the chains. Some are self-imposed chains, some the chains that we've been conditioned with. But setting ourselves free from all of this is the ultimate goal. That's what the ascension process is. And this is when we talk about a whole new world. We're talking that we are ascending into a whole new world. So ascension is moving into this higher vibration. But to move into a higher vibration of love, we can't vibrate energetically at a higher level if we're still holding on to heavy baggage. So there's many of us, everyone is having literally I won't swear, but what's it shaken out of them right now, to allow us to leave that heavy baggage at the door so we can move to this higher vibration.
So just to make this a little bit more concrete, because we've been talking about beautiful concepts, and I read on your website that you had a fear of public speaking. So I wanted to talk to you about this, and maybe to make it concrete, maybe tell us a little bit about how you worked on that, and how, because it's something, so I think similar, because it's a fear of expressing yourself, and maybe a lack of trust in a way. So how is that related to this whole situation in the world right now, and making it really concrete, and how you took steps to work on that?
Well, as you say, public speaking was probably my biggest fear, and to get to the stage where I was able to work on my fear of public speaking, I actually had to work on a lot of other fears first. And I believe I'm a big believer of like one step at a time, and starting small and allowing yourself to to build. And So I worked on many fears, and I was somebody who was full of fears. I used to feel like if I leave my front door, something bad's going to happen. I was terrified of my own shadow. It's difficult. I was bullied as a child, and I was bullied by boys. So I ended up becoming a stockbroker and putting myself in the fire pit of, a den of iniquity, really, of like just, boys in a schoolyard. So that was, facing a fear there. But so I worked on a lot before I got to the public speaking. For the public speaking, I actually had to be hypnotised to even give me the courage to walk into a very small public speaking workshop or course. So I had to be hypnotised 3 times. And then I started in a really small workshop. There was maybe 8 people, and literally what we'd do is stand and maybe look each person in the eye just for like 30 seconds, and that is terrifying, by the way. And then we'd maybe move up to sort of say, hello, my name is Niaby, and blah, 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 blah. And that was, that was huge. I had to do that for a good few months before I was then ready to move to the next stage. And then I joined Toastmasters, which, the Toastmasters is a global association for people looking to do public speaking. And that was great because, we'd write speeches, but there would also be very different roles within the Toastmasters as well. So you might just be a timekeeper, so you just get the opportunity to speak by just saying, the time is, or you need to stop now. So it's very small, but you could do a big role or you could do a small role, and you'd work your way up. And when I first joined, the Toastmaster himself, the person who holds the whole meeting, when I looked at that role and I was like, there is not a chance in hell I am ever doing that role. And literally, I think it was just before lockdown, I ended up taking that role on. So it's one step at a time, like you're just allowing yourself to progress. And I always say, you maybe don't get rid of fear altogether, but you learn to walk hand in hand with it. And sometimes our biggest fears are actually also our biggest gifts. The things that we are most terrified of, our biggest challenges, can very often become our biggest gifts. And for me, public speaking is something I know I'm meant to be doing it. I've known for a long time, but it took me years to find the courage to even start the journey towards doing it. Same with singing. Now I said I'm going to change that. I could not sing at all. I was like a bag of screaming, drowning cats, not just one screaming, drowning cat, a whole bag of them. And then Spirit came to me, and we talk about trust. Spirit came to me several years ago and said, right, you're going to start writing conscious song lyrics. I said, okay, well, I already write conscious poetry, I can write conscious song lyrics, and I've got loads of amazing, talented singing friends. Maybe I'll work with one of them. And I got the message, no, you're going to be singing. And that was the first time since truly opening up to Spirit and truly trusting Spirit that I actually started to, question my own sanity and, my trust with this, because I was like, I cannot sing. And if you just ask any of my friends, they will back you up on that. So they said that. And again, it took me a few years to even be ready. There was so much other work I had to do on myself, because again, it's all a step-by-step process. And I always think we talk about the layers of the onion, peeling back the layers of the onion, and I always joke saying that I must be a shallot by now, because I've peeled back so many layers, I've done so much work, but there's still more to go. But my journey and my process took me to all sorts of different experiences, and some were dark and some were heavy and some were difficult, but then I came out the other side of them being like, wow, okay, I've shifted now. That vibration that I was speaking of, my vibration is a little bit higher now, because I've dropped some of the heavy baggage at the door. And so I started, once I'd dropped some of the heavy baggage at the door, I was ready to start singing lessons, and I've been learning to sing for, a year and a half to 2 years now. I'm still a long way away from, I'm definitely no Whitney Houston, but, more gifts are coming as part of this process as well. So many different things are coming as part of this, and my voice is shifting, and, I've written my first song. I literally maybe 3 weeks ago that came, and I'm going to start working with house music. I'm channeling certain melodies and like really healing vibrations. I'm channeling this stuff that I'm getting the guidance to loop over house music, which is great because, you know, you think about when you work with spirit, some people may have a certain thing, but actually I'm looking to really bridge the two worlds of like, you know, packaging things and bringing it into something that the mainstream can digest or like, you know,
and enjoy.
Exactly. So that takes me back to, you know, when I talk about these gifts and passions, which is one of the big things my book really speaks about, is reconnecting back to those gifts and passions. Now, I didn't realise I had any gifts or passions or talents or anything when I was working as a stockbroker. And it was like when I quit my job and walked away from that, I've discovered so many different gifts and passions now and they're still coming. 8 years on, they're still coming. So yeah, I really want to say that to people at home as well who feel like maybe they, you know, that's, you know, they might be thinking, well, that's great for you to say, you know, you've got talents, but I did not believe I had any talents at all. So there's so many. There's people. We all have gifts. We all have talents. It's just a matter of reconnecting back with them and finding your way with that. And I really believe there's so many ideas that are just floating around in the ether right now as well for, you know, when people are ready to open up and tap into them. We all have new options of, you know, I know people feel probably really scared right now that their work's not, you know, that their work's falling apart, and I get that. And, you know, I also say, like, for some people it is going to be difficult. I'm not going to sit here and say that ascension work is all flowers and roses. It's not. Like, it's hard
also,
work.
Looking at the darkness and the shadows and going through that. And basically what you're also saying is through healing yourself, because it sort of started off with facing your own fears and places that you needed to heal, and then the gifts started to come in, and now you're able to share them. So it's by healing yourself, you're also basically able to then start sharing and spreading it.
Totally. And that's I go back to the natural gifts and passions, because again this it's the essence of my book, and our natural gifts and passions are the essence of who we are. So when we can reconnect with those, we are literally reconnecting with our true selves. So when you reconnect with your true self, you naturally start to heal yourself. That is, you know, I know people will be saying, well, how do I heal? That, for me, is the first place to start, because you naturally start to heal yourselves. And when you naturally start to heal yourselves, you then naturally shine your light of love out on the world, and then you start to shine, you know, to heal that too. And you know, there's many of us who've already gone through this process. And when I say we've gone through this process, I mean we've come a long way through it to be able to help to hold the space for other people. But we've still got a long way to go ourselves. The journey of self, you know, never ends. But you know, when you start that process to healing yourself, you're then able to shine that out to the world. And you know, I always say my role is to inspire people to be the best possible versions of themselves. And how do I do that? By doing the work to be the best possible version of myself. And that is how we change the world. We change the world by changing ourselves, by being that change that we wish to see.
Wow. Do you right back to like a day-to-day basis? What I'm just curious. What is your daily practice? What are for you key moments during the day where you tune in with yourself or?
Well, for me, being in nature, obviously we're in this beautiful woods that's literally just right behind my house. So being in nature is a huge one for me, and I'm so grateful that the gift of reconnecting to nature has been given to so many people now, because we've been so torn away from it for such a long time. We've been caught up in everything else, you know, all the distractions, and so many people as a result of what's going on have reconnected to it. And you know, nature, this is our natural habitat. So you know, when we're in nature, that's when inspiration comes. You know, when we walk in nature, we're grounding ourselves, we're reconnecting to our planet, our natural habitat. And great healing takes place in nature. Physical healing, I know it's like a scientific thing that if you walk in nature, I'm not very good with the science side of things, but you know, the energy just comes through our bodies, and it heals us, and it grounds us, and it balances. And but you can also just walk in nature, and if you want to get clarity, if you want to, you know, just understand something, or just connect to yourself, connect to nature, connect to something higher, whatever it is, like nature is just that most powerful place. So it was really important for me, because I spend a lot of time at home, I work from home. It was really important for me just to be surrounded by nature at all times, so that I'm always in that connection with nature. And the other thing for me is just having gratitude. is, you know, we have been living in a fear-based world. We've been living in a world where we doubt, where we don't trust, where we have been conditioned to think negatively instead of thinking positively. And, you know, we do create with our minds. I know, again, some people will know that, and some people will think that's woo-woo, but, you know, we are creators. We have been created in the image of the Creator, and we are here to create. But it's been, you know, we've been conditioned to create in a very negative, fear-based way. So if we can move into that place of gratitude, even with, you know, so with everything that's going on right now, just having that moment of gratitude. I'm so grateful that I get this hour to walk in nature. I'm so grateful that whilst everything, you know, you might be feeling very negative, like everything's really difficult right now, but I'm so grateful that within the difficulty that I'm able to have this moment here, or I'm able to have this connection with a friend that, or, you know, I'm so grateful for the friends that are in my life that I now have more gratitude for, more respect for. You know, whatever it is, you can start off really small, but gratitude is such a hugely powerful tool to be able to create a better life for yourself. And as I say, for some people you may need to start off really small. But for me, I live in gratitude every day, and the more you have gratitude, the more beautiful things just come into your life. So yeah, they're the big things for me, is to
these two.
Yeah.
And what would you in general just recommend to people? Start writing like a gratitude journal, or would you say I don't know, start spending more time alone or turning inwards?
I think, well, back to nature. I think, you know, setting the intention to get to know yourself, because isn't it crazy that we don't know ourselves? isn't that insane? But we don't. So many of us, we don't. We've lived behind society's mask for such a long time, and you know, that's why so many of us are miserable and unhappy and disconnected. And so trying to setting the intention to start the journey to getting to know yourself. It's a long journey and it's a long process, but setting the intention is number one. And then I think going and being by yourself in nature, sitting by a tree, walking around in the woods, and just looking just to clear your mind a little bit and just be in the stillness. You know, there's many great books out there that can help you with this as well. I'm just trying to think of. Yeah, you know, it's really hard for me to recommend books, you know, to the collective, because it's so different for everybody.
It's different for everyone.
Yeah, when I do my intuitive life guidance sessions, you know, I intuitively know what is right fit for that individual. But there's, you know, there's a whole spiritual, inspirational section of books that you can look at. But yeah, I just think being in nature and being in the stillness and setting the intention. For me, sleep's a really powerful tool. Dreams are a really powerful tool. You know, people will say like, oh, you know, if you're looking for the answer but you don't know, sleep on it. Well, you sleep on it because you go to bed and you reset your mind. And if you go to bed and, you know, people might, you know, some people won't believe in connecting to spirit, but you can connect to your higher self, or, you know, whatever it is that you feel that you can connect to, and maybe just say before you go to sleep, you know, I'd really like to have a better understanding of myself, or I'd really like to know where the best place for me to start is on this journey. And you can just say before you go to sleep, I'd really like to have this understanding when I get up in the morning. And we receive so much clarity through our dreams, through our sleep process. And yeah, often people get up in the morning just have a knowing of what it is that they need to do. So yeah, I'd really suggest like putting. For some people, because some people just go to sleep and they're knocked out, and then they get up in the morning and there's no memory of anything. I'm really, really connected to my dreams. But yeah, it's different for everybody. But writing, you said there, is a great tool. So, you know, just sitting and having no idea what you want to write, and just saying, I'm just going to write and see what comes. That's how my book came. You know,
writing, yes.
Yeah. So there's different ways, but I think setting the intention and wanting to start that journey is key. And when you set an intention like that, and when you decide you want to do it, things just kind of open up, and you will just get, you know, little things will just come in which will start you on the next part of your journey and the next part of your journey. So yeah.
And what are for you personally topics or themes or projects that you are working on in the near future?
Right now, yeah. So, well, I mentioned the singing, so I'm working on this song.
Beautiful songs.
Yes, yeah. And I mean, I need to learn how to you know, I did work with music as a child, but I just stopped. So now I couldn't tell you what note was what. You know, so I need to start learning how to come in on a song and how to, you know, all the beats and the rhythm. Yeah, I know none of this stuff. So yeah, I'm going to need to start working with some of that. And I continue to, you know, I work with an amazing voice activation coach here on the island, Aura. She's just incredible, and she really helps to. It's not just about singing; it's healing, and it's about really, you know, reconnecting with who you are and pushing past all the blocks and the barriers that we have. So I work with her every week. There will be another book coming at some point soon. I don't know when. Everything for me is divine timing. I have to wait for the green light from Spirit to, you know, to give me that go ahead. But yeah, there's going to be another book. Series 3 of my podcast will be coming soon. I'm doing just a lot of writing in general. A lot of, you know, if people want to look at my website. My website is basically, it's a hub of consciousness. I've created it for the pure intention of helping people through these, you know, unprecedented times. My book was channeled 5 years ago with Spirit, and it was channeled for this very time in history. So there's a lot of predictory information about the changes and the shifts that are coming in the planet. But there's also just a lot of help and support in there to, you know, to really help people, you know, navigate their way through these times. And that's what the website is as well. So there's a lot of writing on there that is all channeled, yes. And it's all just, you know, speaking about what's going on right now, and you know, it talks at different levels, because everybody is this is the thing with evolution, you know, everybody is at different levels. So you know, there'll be some things that talk on this level and some that go in at a higher level. But yeah, everything I do is really about trying to support people and trying to help people just to know what's going on right now. And
Exactly. Beautiful. Yeah, so I'll for sure put your details below so people can have a look at your beautiful website and your work. And yeah, thank you so much for sharing everything. And I really truly hope that it sparked some lightness into people's days, because I know it's been really hard on many people right now. And and I like what you said about taking it step by step and how to keep it small, and how if we change ourselves, we can slowly rebuild together the bigger collective.
Well, thank you so much for having me. And I just want to remind people that the light exists. You know, there's the shadow and light and everything, but the light is always there. So just keep looking for it, I think.
Even on the bad days,
even in the darkness. Sure. See the gift in everything that you do and every experience that you have, because it is always there, even if it's hard to find. And the more you look for it, the easier it becomes to find, and then the quicker you go through your process.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing.
Thank you. Thank you.
If you like to dive a little deeper into the whole New World subject, definitely check out Series 2 of Niaby's podcast, The Spirit of Life. In episode 1 and 2, there's a 4.5 hours worth of material where Niaby and our guest Lena explain you all about the ascension process. You can find a link to Niaby's website and podcast in the description below. Thank you so much for listening. It is my absolute pleasure to have you here. This podcast is part of the Mellow at Home membership by Thomas and myself, Sasha. We are a professional filmmaker and yoga teacher that joined forces to bring you the most stunning Ibiza settings for your on-demand yoga classes, live streams, meditations, and inspirational podcasts. You can get unlimited access to the platform and all the live streams for just €15 per month, as long as you like. For now, have a wonderful day, enjoy nature, and keep shining your beautiful light. La magia existe.